Hello folks, and how are you all doing? So in this video, we will see how we can upload images and other media files from a React frontend to our AWS Simple Storage service. Now, if you don't know, in AWS we have lots of services, and one of the services is called Simple Storage Service or S3. So what this does is it has lots of buckets that we can create. So for example, I have 6, 7 buckets, and each of these buckets is like an object store where we can store infinite amount of memory. So basically all our video files or images or any other kinds of files we can store here. Now, why we are not storing these files into our application? Because the application may have limited space. So let's say we are hosting an application in EC2. Now EC2 has limited space, so we should not store all of our images and other kinds of files there. That doesn't have any use. So, and also we shouldn't store them in database because in database, we usually what we store are searchable things. So for example, user ID, names, or maybe messages, but images and videos are not searchable in that sense. So it is better to store them in a bucket. And we will see that how we can connect to AWS S3 using something called a pre-signed URL that actually our backend will be sending. And our front end application will basically upload all of the images there. So we are not uploading from front end to back end. We are directly uploading from front end to our S3 using a pre-signed URL. Now we will be doing all of the code soon. But before that, let's just have a pictorial understanding of what we are trying to do. So let's say this box here, this is our AWS. And inside this box, we have another box. This is our S3. So AWS. So it has all the services like EC2, S3, IAM, all of it. And this box is our S3, which is our object store. And inside the S3, we have another box, which is like our bucket. So let me keep the box here like this. And let's name the bucket as B1 for simplicity. So this is our B1. And AWS can have other services. So we are not looking into that right now. It can also have an EC2 where we may have our application. But in this case, our application will run on local because this is only for testing how we can upload images to S3. And we are not really looking into EC2, but we can have many applications. That's what we should remember. So EC2 and then dot, 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 like the other things. And now let's say we have our application. And let's say this is the front end of our application. And this is the back end. So in the front end, what we will have is, let's say this is our screen only, and we will have a button, and this button will be called, let's say very simple name, upload image. And when we click on this button, the image will be showing. And let's say the image is being shown below here. Okay, so very simple application. But how can we do this thing? So first of all, what we need is the AWS authentication. So our backend, this is our backend. So let's also write front end. So this is the front end and this is the backend. Let's keep it sideways because we need to draw arrows. Like we may need to draw arrows. So front end and backend. Now the backend will first of all send like credentials, for example, access key ID and secret key ID of AWS, and also few other information. So let me put it that config info. The backend will be like sending, and it will get a connection from AWS. And specifically, this is with AWS S3. This is not even AWS in that sense. So it will directly connect to here. And from the S3, it will get few more things. Actually, this is not the correct way. What really happens is something like this. It will connect to AWS using our access key and ID. And from AWS, it will connect to S3. And similarly, we will get back the data like this. And this is like our connection. So connection. So once the connection is done, what we can do from the backend is what we will generate is something called a pre-signed URL. And this is something that we will send to our front end. Pre-signed URL. And when we click on the image, the front end will directly upload it to the S3 and actually directly to the S3 bucket using the pre-signed URL. So it's not the pre-signed URL actually. We are sending the image or other files. So this is how we are basically designing our system. It's a very simple thing. And after uploading, and then there is a question of viewing the image. So for example, we have one box here, which is the image. And how can we view the image? So if we go to our specific bucket, for example, bucket 4, where I have uploaded one image, and if I click on the image, you can see that the image has a URL. Now, if I copy and paste it, you will see that we have access denied. So, I mean, we cannot view the image. That's what they are saying. So, why is that? And that is because so whenever we are creating a bucket, you may have remembered this from the last video on AWS, and we are doing one something called block all public access. Now, you can simply uncheck this box and then you will be able to see the images. But this is not a good practice because ideally you want your bucket to be private and then you want to give specific access to stuff that you have in your bucket. That we can do. And we will use something called a CDN and AWS has something called CloudFront using which we can do this thing. So CloudFront is what is called a CDN or full form is Content Delivery Network. And what is this? If I try to give a brief idea, is that let's say uh, this is our world map. So this is North America, South America, and this is let's say our Asia. Very poorly drawn world map. I think Asia is something like this. But yeah, you get the point that I mean, map is not the big deal here. Now, let's say, so what are CDNs? So CDNs are small servers in many parts of the world. So, for example, here. Now, let's say you are in somewhere. Let's say this is you. Okay, you. Now you are here. Now, let's say the main server is somewhere over here, or the S3 bucket or whatever. Okay, it's in US East 1, so maybe somewhere here. So it's here. Now you are searching for an image. So what you will do is you will directly send a request here for a specific image, and they will send it from like they will send it over a large distance. Okay. Now this is not a good practice because it may have some lags. Yeah, the file may be very big. It may have some issues. So what really happens is what CDNs does is CDN basically takes all of the files and stuff that we have and it makes some local copies because it's like images and video files. So it's not like it will be changing. So it's basically same thing. So all of these circles will have a copy of the image or the whatever file you want. And so instead of asking directly at such a long distance, what you will be doing is you will be asking it from the nearest, like whatever is the, you can call these things POPs. So POP means, so I forgot the full form. POP full form CDN. It's called points of presence. So this is the main server, and the main server has many points of presence. So let's say not main server actually, main store. Uh, okay, I mean you get the point. It's not very well designed, but yeah. Okay, and these are all the pops, though the small things. So this is it. Let's say pop. So you will make the request to whatever pop you have here, and you will also get a response. So this will make it very fast, and it will not be having the issues. So the some of the issues that you may be facing while falling over such a large distance. And let's say when some of the pops are not very active. So what the CDN will do is it will automatically like remove all of the things. So this is like one cache presence of all of these pops, like all of the main things in the points of presence. So this is what CDN does, and ideally we will be viewing all of our images that we have in our buckets. So which in our case is this one using our CDNs. So yeah, so we will be doing all of these things here, and we will be building one application with a small React front end, which basically is this thing, one upload image button and the image. And we will be creating a small Express backend to make all of the requests and stuff, and we will see. that how we can make use of both AWS S3 and CloudFront to design the small system. Now, this is a small system, but something like this is being used in all of the big applications. So yeah, let's get started. So I have initialized one small React project, and let's build the front end first, and then we will move to the backend on generating the pre-signed URL. But ideally, what we should remember is we will be getting one pre-signed URL from the backend, using which we will upload, and then we will manage rest of the stuff from there. Okay. So what we need here. So first of all, we need a button, and then we need the image. And the button will is nothing but an input of one image file. So yeah. So let me create one input, and the name of the input is the type is not text. The type is actually a file. And if I save, yeah, you can see a bunch of files. So let's try to create a little bit better design. So let me name image upload app, and let's give a flex flex call items center. Yeah, looks better. And also let's give a text 3xl or 2xl or whatever, and let's give an my of 8 and gap of 4. Yeah. So we are choosing a file using this, and once we choose the file, we also need a button. So let's create a button, and we will simply write upload image. So let's keep it below the input, and let's give the background color as green 600, text white, and let's give a padding of 2, and text Excel, and also rounded Excel. And we don't see anything. Why is that? There must be some issues, looks like, because the text is white. That is the reason, maybe. So, but ideally it should work. Okay, BG green 600, yeah. So a good looking button we have. And let's also give a over BG green of 500. Yeah. And lastly, we need the image. So below this, we will have an image, and the image alt, let's say only image, and we need a source. So what is the source? The source is actually the CDN URL. So the cloud in CloudFront, we will create a URL. So for now, let's keep the source empty, and we will change the source whenever required. And yeah, so I think that's all. That's all we need for now. For now, we can simply give the vt.svg here. Yeah. But instead of vt.svg, we will have some other image. Yeah. So, but that's not all, because we also need to write the functions that we will be doing like we want to do. So, for example, when we click on the button, it should do an on click of upload image. Yeah, very important. And at the top, we need a function like that. So, async function upload image. And also, when we want to take a file as an input, we also have to write few things. So, for example, we will set up a file and set file, and we can initialize it to an empty array. So, ideally, we can select many files also, and we will also select the current file and set per file. So, for simplicity, we will be using only one file, but ideally, we can select many files also. Yeah. And now, what we need to do is basically whenever we are choosing a file, so input, and we have to set it. So how can we do that? So we will do an on change, and the on change will have access to E. And then what we need to do is set file, and we have E dot target dot file. So we can choose many files, but for now we will choose only the first one. So we will only take this one. And whenever we are doing an upload image, let's do one thing. Let's log. What can we log? We can log the file information. So let's log file. Yeah, and let's see what do we get. So let's upload an image. So choose file and let me upload Fairies Happy. Upload image. And as you can see, we are getting some information. So name is Fairies Happy. And we have some information which is helpful for us. Now, what we also want to do is basically capture some of this information that we need for generating our pre-signed URL in the backend. So let's do one thing. We will take file name. It will be our file dot name, which is the Fairies Happy. And then we will need the file type, and this is our file dot type. So type is image png. Yeah. Now we need to decide that when we are uploading, what should be the name of the file. Now we shouldn't ideally upload it like very sappy. We can also, but yeah, it would be better if we can, let's say, use some random number and the file name so that we don't have duplicates. So what we can do is we have to make it lit, otherwise it won't allow us to change. So file name can be, let's say, something like this. So we will do a maths dot float and then math dot random multiplied by 1000. So this is basically one random number from 0 to 1000 converted to a string. Yeah. And this plus our file name. So underscore our basically file name. Yeah. And if we, let's say, log now the file name, and let's see, choose another file, Ferris, upload image. As you can see, 735 Ferris. So this is what we want. And now what we need to do is basically we will have a pre-signed URL from our backend that we have not yet made, but we will see that soon. So what we need to do is we will get a response from the backend. So const to rest, and let's do an await. We have Axios also. I think I have installed Axios package. Yeah, we have Axios. So what we will do is we will import Axios from Axios to make our API calls, and we will do an axios.get, and we will keep the URL empty for now. And in the URL, what we want to do. Okay, so let's do it like this. So let's say we will create one API like localhost 3000 and generate a pre-signed URL. This is something we will do. And then we will use a query to send our file name and also the file type. So we should be using backticks instead of double quotes because we want to use variables. So we will send the file name and we will send the file type also. So file name and um, file type, but it should be and the file type equals to file type. Yeah. So this is what we want, but we don't have this URL. So ideally it will throw some kind of error. But yeah, so when we have it, we will get it, and then we will get some data. So the data is like one URL. So from the response, okay, for now, let's simply output the response and then we can do the rest. So rest. And let's say we will have some URL from this, and using the URL, we will be basically um, doing our uploads. And in our error, what we will do is simply log the error. So got an error uploading the file. And yeah, that's all. And now if I try to do, let's say, choose file, Ferris, upload, we have this one. And yeah, as you can see, we are getting some error because we don't have this thing. So now for we will go to our backend. So I have created a simple backend stuff and we have an index.js. So here we will write our backend code. And basically what we need is we will import AWS from AWS SDK. We need .env from .env. Then import express from express. And lastly, we need course also from course. Because we will be making lots of requests from this URL to that URL, so course becomes very important. Now .env.config to use our .env. And now let's create an express app. Let's also get a port. So port equals to process.env.port or 3000. And lastly, what we need to do is basically app.listen. We will have our port and let's do a uh, standard what we write app running on port. Yeah. Now let's go to our backend and here let me clear stuff node index.js and we have some errors. Let's see what are the errors. So the errors is there is some issue with the import AWS and that is because we need to specify that we want type to be module. Now we will no longer having this issue. So index.js and what does it say? Okay, so app is running on port 3000 and these are some like messages from AWS SDK. So yeah, we can ignore that for now. So what we need here? So we need one app.get and this is our basically the URL that we are trying to call. So generate pre-signed URL and it will have request and response. And as we all know, we are sending the file type and file name. So what we can do here, so let me just close the below part. So we will be having const file type and file name from the request.query. And yeah, let's also do a console log of request.query. Yeah. And let's do one try catch kind of thing. In the catch part, we will simply be sending res.json um, message couldn't share. It's too long, so pre-signed URL PSU couldn't share PSU. And in the try part, let's do a res.json. Mm, message is let's not give a message or anything like that. Simply a URL. Let's say whatever ABC. Yeah. So now let's try to do this thing. So we will click on choose file. Where is happy? Let's remove everything, upload image. Okay. So what they are saying is it has been blocked by course policy. So yeah. So course is a big issue. So what we need to do is after we need to do one app dot use course. Yeah. Now let's do it once again. So I will upload my image. Okay. So it's not running and that is because we are not using nodemon. We are using node and we need to do it again and again. So let's do a nodemon index.js. So yeah, now let's try to do this thing. So choose file, where is happy, upload. And yeah, as you can see, we are getting some response back. So this is our REST. So in our app.js, so we are console logging the REST. So in the REST, we have the data. So if we do a REST.data, what we will get? Let's do upload image once again. So as you can see, we are getting the URL. So what we can do here is we can simply get the URL from the res.data and instead of that we will simply print our URL because that is what we need. So as you can see we are getting ABC ABC which is good. This is what we want. So what we need to do with the URL, we will use this URL to upload, right? Yeah. So we have this URL. So what we will do is await. Let's give some space here. So we will do await axios.put, and here we will have the URL. We also have the file, and now as part of the headers, what we want to do is basically content type, and we will have our file type. This is not application JSON that we generally send. So this is what this is basically it will upload. That's all. And we have taken the current file. So whenever we upload something, we want that to be displayed over here. So let's do one thing. Let's set per file as the file we have now. So file name. Yeah. This is something that we will need when we try to access this image. Yeah. Okay, now let's try to generate a valid pre-signed URL, because right now the URL that we are getting is definitely not valid. So what we need to do is we need to first of all connect to AWS. Right now we are not connecting. We are simply generating some, what should I say, some fixed stuff. So to connect, what we need to do is aws.config.update. And here we will need access key ID, and this is our process.env.aws access key ID. Now we have not created these things as of now, but we will create, but we need these things. So before that, let's just try to understand what these things. So to do it briefly, if I go to IAM, I will have a user. So all the users like have some credentials using which we can access. So we will go to security credentials, and here we have access keys. So ideally you shouldn't share this with anybody, but I will just create an access key for this purpose. We will create the CLI. Next, okay, I need to agree, and let's do S3 upload, and we'll create the access key. And we have the access key and the secret access key. We shouldn't share this with anybody, but for tutorial purpose, I'm sharing it, and I will be deleting it afterwards. But in your case, make sure never to share these things with anybody, because if somebody has these details, they will be able to access your S3 with their like basically their code. So which is something that you definitely don't want, because anyway, it's your account and you have to pay the bills. So yeah, so I will do show, and I have it. So what I will do is I will create .env, and here I will have a port. So port is 3000, and then AWS access the ID is we will get from here. So AWS secret access key. This is also something that we will get from here. So copy, paste, and copy, paste. Yeah. Okay. Now what? So we have these things, and secret access key. We will just do it. So AWS secret access key. And lastly, we will need the region. And the region is this one, not here. This is what? This is me basically, the IAM user who is doing stuff. So I don't see region, which is strange, but the region is, let me go back. It's saying global. But as far as I know, my region is US is 3. So if I come here, yeah. So as you can see, region is US is 1. So let me give the region as what we have, US is 1. So now we have a connection to AWS, and now we have to use the service S3. So I will create one variable called S3, and which is basically new AWS.S3. Yeah. And then what we need to do inside is we have the file name and the file type, we have to create something called params where we will have all the data. So inside params, we will have bucket. So basically, which bucket I want to use, I will give it a name, and then we will have a key. So key is basically our file name. This is actually like the name of the file that we will be stored. And we also have to make sure that for how long the pre-signed URL will be valid. So I will make it 60 seconds into 2. So it will be valid for 2 minutes. So it is expiring in 120 seconds. And lastly, the content type is our file type. Yeah. And so after all of this is done in our try block, what we will do is we will create a URL. So URL equals to await S3 dot get signed URL, get signed URL promise. Yeah, this one. And we will write operation as put object because we are putting an object, you can say. And we will also send the params. Yeah. So that's all we need. And we will not be like hard coding it. We will be directly sending it. So now let's, yeah, we have to give the bucket name. Without this, of course, how will it work? So let me go to my AWS account and I will give the bucket 3, let's say. It has no objects for now. So let me copy the bucket and here I will paste the bucket name and let's see now. So let me choose. So Ferris, upload image. Yeah. So it is having some issue, looks like. So, and is that because my backend is not running or something like that? Yeah. So the backend is having some issue. So the issue is params is not defined or something. Yeah. And that is because we have to use const params here. And let's start once again. Yeah. So now from my front end, let me choose a file, Ferris, upload image. And yeah, as you can see, we have one pre-signed URL. We got something, but then we have another issue, and that is the AWS whatever bucket, and that has been blocked by CORS policy. So this is another very problematic issue, and that is we have resolved the CORS policy of our backend. So the backend is getting like getting stuff from front end. That's not an issue. But when we are trying to upload to AWS S3, the S3 also has a backend, and there the CORS is not enabled. So there we need to do a few things to make this work. So let's just do that. So to do that, I will just check another one of my buckets. So for example, my first bucket. Okay, this may not be the case. So let me take this bucket and I will go to permissions. And here we will have something called course. So this is something that we need to put in the other bucket where we are trying to upload. So we will go to bucket. This is the third bucket. We'll go to permissions. And in the permissions, we will have course. We will do edit and not twice, only once. So we are basically allowing lots of things. And we are also like putting this URL. So from there, if some request comes, you should basically allow. That's all we are saying. So let's save it. Yeah, it's saved. Now let's go back once again and let's try to upload something. So choose file, Ferris, upload. And as you can see, we don't have any errors. So let me choose another file, me for this time, upload. Again, I don't see any issues. So does that mean the images are uploaded? Let's see. Let me refresh and let's try to understand the images are uploaded. Yes. So that means our images are uploaded. But that doesn't mean we can access these images, right? Because of what we have just discussed. So let me copy link. And here, if I paste this, it will not allow us to access it. So what we need to do is we will go to CloudFront and we will access it the better way rather than allowing access. So here I have one distribution already, but I will create another distribution. And here I have to choose origin, that which is the origin of my distribution. So I will choose this bucket as the origin. And the rest of the things I can keep as it is. And I will simply do a create distribution. Okay. So do you enable security protections or not? Doesn't matter at this point. So I will simply enable. So create distribution. Yeah. So now we have another distribution and the distribution has a domain name. So distribution domain name. Now, if I click on this and now what I will do is something like this. So I have this slash Ferris, right? So I will do this thing. Now, if I press enter, so right now the site is not reaching, but ideally, it may take a while sometimes, but ideally it reaches. So meanwhile, let's just write our code and then we will see what we can do for this. So I will go back to my VS Code once again. And yeah, so what we need to do is we have few more things left to be done. And that is, so whenever we are trying to view the image, from where we want to view. So we want to view it from our distribution. So what we need to do here is basically take the distribution and take whatever is the image name that I have uploaded. So so basically the distribution is basically this HTTPS whatever, and then we will basically give the name of the file. So and that the file is basically stored as the current file. So we will do this plus cur file. Yeah, and it's saying some issue. Let's come over here. No, I don't see any issues. So this, and there should be a slash. That's it. So now let's also do a print of the current file. So log cur file to get a better idea. So let me use my image only, upload image. And as you can see, this is the correct thing. Now let's see, we are getting it or not. So I will go to AWS once again and copy, and this is the image. Now we should be getting, and it's still not allowing, which means that this is an issue related to permissions. So in my Amazon CloudFront, this is my distribution, and I will go to origins. And this bucket 3 is our origin. We all know this. So let me click on edit. And so this is our issue, why we are not able to access. So in the origin access, we have given it as public, which is wrong actually, because our bucket is not public. So when we are creating the bucket, you must be remembering that we have blocked all public access. So while creating the distribution, this is an error that we made. Instead of that, what we should have chosen is origin access control settings. So what this is in short OAC. This is like a policy that we will attach to our S3 bucket, so that although the bucket is private, but using this policy, the distribution can access what we have inside our bucket. So let's create a new OAC, and it already has a name, and we will take sign requests like yeah, this is more safe, and create. So it's saying that there is already one name with this thing. So let me click on the drop down. Yeah, so let's use this only, and it has generated a policy. So you must allow access to CloudFront only using this policy statement, and we can click on this to learn more about this. But ideally, what this is so there is an AWS document, like you can go through this. But what we will do is we will simply copy this policy. Let's save the changes first. And now we will go through S3. We have already copied the policy in the bucket, in the permissions. There is a bucket policy. And here I will click on edit and I will simply paste the policy. And the policy is basically allowing this distribution that we made to access this bucket. That's it. And then we will save changes. Yeah, no issues at all. And now if I go here and try to access Ferris using the distribution URL, we will see that we are able to get the image, which is great news. That means using our application also, if we have access to this URL, I mean, if we have the URL, we will be able to view the image. So let's go back to our VS Code and let's try to do this thing. Let's open the console, and now I will choose a file. Let's choose me and upload image. I believe the image is uploaded, and as you can see, we can also see the image below. And if you want to make it better, we can add some styles, but definitely that is not the main focus of this video. So rounded Excel, and we have some rounded corners, but you get the idea. If I choose a different file now, for example Ferris, and upload, uh, yeah, as you can see, the image has changed. And that is because we have an use effect and no, we don't. But anyway, I mean, the image is attached to the file. So when the file is changing, I mean, it's also the cur file. So when the cur file is changing, there is a state change and the application re-renders and we are getting the updated image. Let me choose Paris, upload, and we will see Paris soon. Yeah. So that's all how you can create a pre-signed URL and directly using our client, we are uploading the images to the S3 bucket. So now if I refresh, you will see that we have a lot more images now. And this also doesn't put any additional load on your server. You are not sending anything to the server and you can also access easily. I mean, there is no issue in that also. So yeah, that's it for this folks. And if you have found this video helpful, make sure to like, share and subscribe because that boosts the channel for me. And yeah, I will see you next time with another very interesting video.